And we are recording. Hi, Dani. I'm so happy you're with me.
Oh, Mindy, I'm so excited to see your beautiful face again. It's been too long.
Likewise. We're going to have a great conversation. And just know, technically, everybody knows me. I'm technically challenged. This is being recorded. So it's going to be posted to the group. It's going to be posted to the Facebook page. It's going to be posted to LinkedIn, posted to YouTube. So if you're missing it now, no worries. My wonderful Jenny will be posting it everywhere it can go, because the most important thing is the message that my dear friend Dani has for us today. So I'd like to introduce you to my beloved guest, Dani, who has her own story of healing and has discovered that there are 6 pillars to health that need to be addressed, particularly when our bodies have been worn down by the stressors of an unhealthy past. And I know that so many of our viewers can relate to that. Dani's story is one of inspiration and a source of hope to her patients, and I know it will be to you. So let me just give you some background. Dani is a graduate of Vanderbilt University, School of Nursing, nurse midwifery, and family nurse practitioner. She incorporates the art of medicine by balancing traditional and integrative therapies. Dani encourages her patients to step out of the realm of normal and reach optimal health. She owns Integrative Family Medicine and Wild and Well, which is a wellness emporium in Franklin, Tennessee. And I'm going to interject here. I wholly recommend that you follow her on social media, and she'll tell us how, but she has an amazing Facebook presence. She's live so often, and she takes you through her day and her fabulous emporium, and I know it's something you're going to want to see. Dani focuses on gut, autoimmune thyroid, Hashimoto's thyroiditis is her passion. I know many of you are struggling with that as well. She also deals with hormone and adrenal health with her patients. Her approach embodies a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual process to healing. She believes that God designed our bodies to heal themselves. We simply must give them what they need. She completely reversed 24 years of chronic lifestyle disease by healing her gut and rebuilding her immune system. She's a sought-after speaker. She's my friend and colleague, and I'm really excited to let you know that her first book, Wild and Well, Dani's 6 Common Sense Steps to Radical Healing, is being released November 9th. I already ordered my copy. I know that as soon as we're finished here, most of you are going to do the same. She believes that your health need not be rocket science, and healing shouldn't be either. That's right. Dani will tell us how to pre-order her book, I'm sure. Hey, Dani.
I'm so excited. That was beautiful. Thank you. Can't wait.
Thank you for being. So let's talk a little bit about what got you here. Your mom has Alzheimer's disease. I know that's something that you write about and share about often, and you're an only child. And I know about your story of abuse and physical, and that was physical and verbal from what, 2 stepfathers?
Yep. Yes.
How have you managed to resolve the pain and now single-handedly take care of that mom? And I know it's challenging, but you do it so lovingly.
Well, thank you. And I'm an only child. So, the backstory I grew up in complete chaos in my house. And quite frankly, a shithole of chaos. Honestly, it was awful. But there were worse things, right? And I did have a stepfather that molested me, and one that was physically abusive my senior year. I had chronic diarrhea, diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome at age 20, started itching in my mid-20s, chronic itching, diagnosed with lupus in my 30s, depressed, then put on antidepressants. But I was doing my job, right? I was raising kids. I was in a bad marriage. I got divorced. I went on food stamps, and you just keep pushing through. right? My mom and I never had a relationship. We never have. My grandfather had died by suicide. My mother attempted suicide multiple times and was institutionalized several times. 6 weeks after I was born, she had postpartum psychosis and was institutionalized. So, and that's in the book. So the long story, I went through nursing school, got out at 44 with 2 little kids, and I was sick. I mean, I didn't feel well, and I knew I had to keep going. And my mentor out of school one day looked at me and said, Dani, what are you eating? Don't you know your symptoms are controlled by what you're eating? Mine was joint pain, bloating, fatigue, lupus, all the things. He said, your diet controls your disease, is what he said. Do you take digestive enzymes? Do you know your food sensitivities? It turned my entire world around 11 years ago. I had just spent $200,000, 196 to be exact, in student loans to Vanderbilt. Never once was my class of 300 and something nurse practitioners told there's a cause to your patient's depression. There's a root cause to your patient's heartburn, diarrhea, joint pain. It's not a Nexium deficiency. It's not a Prozac deficiency. Now, again, Prozac turned my entire world around in a situational situation. So I'm not negating that. Never once were we told they weren't born sick. They turned their disease, chronic lifestyle disease on. For me, it was lupus and IBS. Figure it out. So from that day forward, I started learning, and I was in a functional medicine clinic, but I knew nothing about functional medicine. And I started digging deep into the science behind food sensitivities or inflammatory foods and healing a leaky gut, right? Whatever created that. And since then, 11 years later, that's what I've done for a living. And I have helped thousands of patients begin to decrease the inflammation and heal their gut from the inside out. Yeah. And I love what I do. I am living proof that whatever you have turned on, chronic lifestyle disease, you can turn off or at least dial back greatly. Maybe you'll still be on medicine, but you'll be on a lower dose of whatever it is. I'm living proof. And if I can turn it around, this little redneck kid from Gilbertsville, Kentucky, who grew up in chaos and didn't know anything about healing your body, anyone can do it. If I can do it, anyone can. So I had to unlearn 4 years, 3.5, 4 years of education to get to the root cause of whatever it is that's creating the systemic chronic inflammation in a patient's body.
You're bringing up so much for me, and I'm imagining for our viewers. You and I have had an extensive discussion before about adverse childhood experiences, otherwise known as ACEs, and how very often, most often, the disease that we're talking about, the disease state that ends up taking over, is a result of adverse childhood experiences, right? So that's one thing.
Yes.
What's also coming up for me, because I hear it so much and I know I've experienced it myself in my own healing journey, is the need to let go of our attachment to story. Now, who we were, how we were raised, is something very difficult to let go of. And yet then we find ourselves in a disease state, or perhaps in a psychological state of, with a lack of well-being. So how would you suggest that people start to move from A to B when there is an attachment to story?
You bet.
And there is childhood trauma that needs to be dealt with in order to raise yourself out of what can be a black hole?
Well, I spent a lot of time in therapy, but not as a young child. I was never put in therapy when all the trauma was happening with the stepfathers, I had to do that myself. And I went to therapy as an adult, to counseling, to therapy. And then I personally went to a place called Onsite. So I think, I checked in for 6 days, not checked in because it's not a rehab. It's all on experiential therapy and really working through your story, the original trauma that happened. I am a big fan of Onsite, which is world renowned, world known. They come from all over the world to their living centered program. It was one of the greatest things I ever did. And I mean, I nailed it down and I forgave. I never forgot. But I think you have to go through a lot of forgiveness, and you do have to unattach yourself. Now I can tell this story. I can dig deeper into things that happened in my life and tell them and not be emotional about it. It's not who I am. And there's a chapter in the book says, you're not your past. It's as simple. You are not your past right here. And it's all on ACEs and healing from that trauma. For me, treatment was phenomenal, and just therapy. Talk therapy, EMDR, experiential therapy. I went through it all. Because
I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
I knew that I did not want to bring in the next generation.
Yeah. So do you incorporate your extensive knowledge of ACEs in your patient care?
You bet. And so for 11 years I've been doing this, almost 9 years, I missed this. I never offered the adverse childhood experience questionnaire to my patients. Every single patient now, new patient, gets the ACE questionnaire. It's changed the way I practice medicine.
What got you from not using it to using it?
I had a patient who introduced me to it. My nurse practitioner program never talked about adverse childhood experiences ever. I have a patient who worked with ACEs with clients in treatment for decades. And he said, Dani, and he did a Sunday night service with me, a Facebook Live, and I was blown away. I was horrified at what I learned about the percent of people walking around who have at least one adverse childhood experience. And if you have one, you've got something like a 75% chance of having two. And the ramifications that come from childhood trauma before the age of 18. So it was my patient and I'm so grateful. And I did that and started learning and reading and the history of ACEs and what it means for our health. I have an adverse childhood experience questionnaire or score of 6. I should be dead soon, 20 years shorter lifespan than my peers. I should already have been an IV drug user and severely depressed. That's what the statistics show. The higher the score, the more the chronic lifestyle disease.
Maybe you can just briefly share a little bit what some of those questions are.
Yes. Well, I don't have them printed out. I don't have the questionnaire, but here's what I have it in the book. So it's 10 questions I have it right here. Look at that. 10 questions about physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, neglect, and did someone go to prison? Did anyone was a problem drinker and alcoholic? I mean, were you molested? Were you raped? Were you fondled? That's one of the questions. Did you often or very often feel that no one in your family loved you? Did you often feel that you didn't have enough to eat or you had to wear dirty clothes to school? Did you feel that your family did not look out for each other? Did a member go to prison? Did a household member go to prison? Was a household member depressed or mentally ill? Or did a household member attempt suicide? And so it goes on and on, 10 questions. The higher the score, what we learned is that the higher the score, the higher the disease process in your body. The more likely you are to have to die by suicide, to have anxiety, depression, mental illness, cardiovascular disease. If you have an adverse childhood experience score of 4 or more, you are 12.2 times more likely to attempt suicide.
Oh.
10.2 times as likely to use injection drugs, 7.4 times more likely to be an alcoholic. A person with 4 or more ACEs is 2.5 times more likely to have ischemic heart disease, 2.5 times more likely to have a stroke, 1.9 times more likely to have cancer. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it's I can't remember his name. He was the president of the American Pediatric Association for years. He said adverse childhood experiences are the #1 public health crisis that we've missed in the United States.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing.
We educate our patients about baby safety, right? Put them on their back to sleep. But yeah, I had to think about that. It's been a long time since I had a baby. Cover up the sockets, the sockets, close the counters, cover up the swimming pool, block the stairs. But we never, ever, ever educated on toxic household.
No, and that's so unfortunate, right? And that, reminds me, we talk so much about letting go of attachment to story. It's letting go of those inflammatory and toxic beliefs that come out of such experiences. So let's talk about the book. I really want to elaborate with you on your 6 steps to healing that you use in your practice.
You bet.
Share what the 6 steps are.
So the tagline is Dani's 6 common sense steps to radical healing. I'm a lot of things. One of those is I am loaded with common sense. I'm intelligent, I'm smart, but I'm not just a rocket scientist, right? I was 40 years old when I went back to school. I was older when I got out. I mean, I'm tired, but I am common sense. Let me tell you, I'm common sense.
And you keep freezing on me.
Yes. And so I just got to science, right? But this is not rocket science. So the whole first part of the book is on childhood trauma, and you are not your past, and you are not sinking. You are not broken. So it sets it up then for my 6 steps to healing, which are eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, decrease stress, and cultivate community, which you've done a beautiful job of. And I go through those in the book, each step has a chapter dedicated to it. Excuse me. And of course, I start off with eat well, because it is the key. It is the key. You can do all of these other things, and you can decrease your stress, inflammation, an inflammatory diet. My entire business is built off of decreasing inflammation in the body, from the mouth to the anus, cooling the gut down, cooling the leaky gut. And so I talk about my journey with food there and about food sensitivities. Yeah. I am very passionate, and there's a lot of, controversy on food sensitivities, but I think I have a great company I use, and we use a company out of Atlanta, Precision Point Diagnostics. And I think they do a phenomenal job. And that food sensitivity test turned my entire world around 11 years ago. And I realized I was eating healthy food. I mean, eggs are the perfect protein, salmon is good. I was eating great food that was hurting me, that was creating systemic illness and joint pain and diarrhea. Eggs have been on my food sensitivity for 11 years. Yeah. If I eat an egg, I got to run out of here because my body hurts and I'm bloating. So the entire first chapter or food chapter is on relearning about food and about what trying to unlearn everything that we learned growing up.
Right. Yeah. What's coming up for me now with this too.
And I'm a big proponent of 1 ingredient, God made healthy food. Processed, packaged, bagged, canned, fake food just leads to systemic inflammation and horrible cravings. This is what you teach. Yeah, and your tribe knows that. So the entire first It's not I don't food. Know. I didn't. Oh, absolutely. It's not food. It's frankenfood. It's fake food. It's just, and I do videos all the time, at Walmart and all, to picking up packages at Aldi's and Trader Joe's and reading off that list of ingredients, and it's frankenfood. And I grew up eating processed, packaged, bagged, canned, fake, man-made food. Even though we had a garden, I was in the country. So the entire first chapter is on eating well. And it's about, you know, filling your body with the things that are going to heal you, because food will do one of two things, right? It will heal you or kill you. It just will, the inflammation. And so sleep well. Sleep well. If you don't sleep well, you can't eat well. You won't think to eat well. It's our chapter on creating your bedroom into a sanctuary, making it a sanctuary. You cannot have a cluttered, piled up, disaster-filled bedroom and expect to rest peacefully. So the first thing I have patients do is clean your bedroom up, for crying out loud. Get the electromagnetic fields out of your bedroom. Get the computer, the TV, the wireless router can't be in there. You know, move the head of the bed away from your HVAC unit. If your air conditioner's out there, you know, you've got to get away from the electromagnetic fields that are disrupting your circadian rhythm. If you sleep on a sleep number bed, you're sleeping on a minefield of electricity.
Yeah, and shocking the neurons in the brain.
You bet. You're completely disrupting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we set the bed where you need it, and then unplug it. Unplug the lights beside you. Get them healthy for you. I have lots of videos on EMS, but then also, you know, you've got to, maybe you need magnesium. So the whole book, I mean, the chapter talks about magnesium and Epsom salt baths and sleepy time tea and taking your probiotic and, you know, having a nighttime ritual and getting off these phones long before nighttime. Eat well, sleep well, move well.
And I want to add a caveat to move well. Move appropriately.
You bet. So I don't say exercise,
right?
You know,
honor your body with movement, as opposed to punishing it with exercise that's designed to make it go away.
You bet. You bet. And if you feel worse after you move, after you exercise, if you have to go home and take a nap, then you are doing the wrong form of exercise. A patient yesterday, 6 days a week on that Peloton, multiple classes a day. She's exhausted. And her husband was in the appointment with her. And I said, you're exercising too much. I mean, you've got to honor your body. We've got some sort of dysfunction going on here that we need to take care of and just back down. So the whole chapter is on movement. And also it brings up Alzheimer's in there, because dancing, ballroom dancing and Alzheimer's, that's one of the few things we know that can slow down Alzheimer's, is learning how to ballroom dance.
Wow.
Yes. So I talk about that as well. But movement, my good friend who's a chiropractor, Dr. Myers, Derek Myers, says, when you stop moving, you stop moving. It's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. And so you do have to move, but you have to honor your body. And it could be anything, hula hooping, I don't care, yoga, whatever, rollerblading, roller skating, I don't care. Just move your body, dancing.
Yeah.
And you're not going to sleep well if you don't move well, and you're not going to eat well if you don't move well. And people who move well are happier. They have a better sex life. When you move, your libido is better. Yes. Proper movement.
Wonderful. I love it. And of course, pooping. All my people
eat
know
well,
my favorite
sleep well,
is
move well, poop well. Love it. I did not poop well. Well, I pooped like a goose my entire life, which was not good because I ate and it was just through me immediately. So you have to poop. If you're only pooping once or twice a week and your doctor says that's okay, you need a brand new doctor, ladies and gentlemen, or healthcare provider, because that's not okay. You should poop. I have a 12-week-old standard poodle who just walked in the office here and looking at me. When he eats, he goes and poops like 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, and a good, healthy gut will eliminate 20 or 30 minutes later. And he's real happy about it when he does it. You know, dogs will run in just, you know, like wildfire. So pooping is important. Pooping properly is important. I talk in there about a squatty potty, getting your feet elevated so that you can eliminate if you struggle with constipation. Many people who are constipated, they don't drink enough water. If you would just drink half your body weight in ounces in water daily, more if you drink tea, more if you drink coffee, magnesium. And so I talk about all the things that'll help you poop, right? Magnesium, water, vitamin C, incredible for your adrenals, but also will help you poop, which is amazing. We are chronically constipated as Americans.
Yes, we are.
Look what we eat. We don't eat well. We don't sleep well. We don't move well. Therefore, you don't poop well. It's all connected.
Yeah. And it's also about, which leads us to the de-stressing, but it's also a beloved mentor and teacher of mine, Mark David, always said, about constipation, what kind of crap are you holding on to?
Well, I was just getting ready to say that, because when you're stressed and you don't de-stress, you lock down, that you hold it in, and so exactly what kind of crap are you holding on to? So what does Dr. Jonathan Wright says, the larger the stool, the smaller the hospital. I think poop,
I like that.
They're not in the hospital.
Like that. So that brings us to de-stressing.
Yes.
De-stress well.
And he also says, those who don't mask fabulous, and we don't chew our food when we're under stress. We inhale our food. We eat fast. So de-stressing, it's imperative. Stress will destroy your health. Stress will kill people. Stress will cause a heart attack on Monday morning before you go to work, right? Or Sunday night when you're getting ready, worried about work. The last 18 months, 19 months, 20 months, we are seeing what stress does to people. As a healthcare provider who works with patients every day, the stress of what we've been through has chronic stress will cause your white blood cells to burst and create inflammation. Your entire body shuts down when you do not de-stress. So how do you do that? Well, Dani, what do you do? My kids are at home, just like the patient here today. Husband's home working, children are at home. One child has dyslexia. She's an only child like me. She was used to her kids being in school and her husband traveling 4 days a week. And guess what happened a year and a half ago? Her body is locking up on us because she has zero margin in her life, zero. And so I teach patients, what can you automate, eliminate, and delegate out of your life right now?
Okay.
AED.
Automate, eliminate, designate.
And delegate.
Delegate.
Just like those AED, the automatic defibrillators that save your life. Same thing. AED. Automate, eliminate, and delegate.
I'm writing it down.
Okay, start tonight. What can you get rid of? What are you doing that is not necessary that somebody else could do? You need to, that's delegate. You need to automate everything you can. If that's paying your bills, to pay. If going to the grocery is stressful for you, then just click list it and have it delivered. Now, for me, that would be horribly stressful because for me, it's like a business venture going to the grocery because I get to see people that I know. So I love it. I'd be way more stressed clicking here because I'd be irritated if somebody brought me bruised bananas. So, I want to pick my own bananas. But for a lot of people, that is a stressor. If you got 3 kids at home, man, automate everything you can, ladies and gentlemen. It's key. Eliminate, get rid of stuff. And I mean like clutter too, but I mean, eliminate your commitments. You focus on you and your little family, your nucleus at home, because that's all that matters. You don't add anything. Nothing gets on your schedule unless you say it does. Stop saying yes to adding things to your schedule. If it stresses you out to be the room mother, then don't be the room. mother. Somebody's going to do it. Eliminate all you can in your life. I mean, seriously. And that includes the soul suckers in your life, the people who are dragging the life out of you. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have those people in your life. You can set boundaries that are healthy for you. Automate, eliminate. There's a whole chapter on this. So, and then delegate. Delegate everything you can in your life. Delegate it. Those kids are old enough, most likely, to start doing the laundry. They may not do it the way you want, but who cares? Let them do their own laundry. Delegate everything. Delegate everything you can off of your plate. And I'm going to tell you, you'll see the stress level coming down. The holidays are coming up. Our world revolves around food. It is extremely stressful for people. And I mean, if it is stressful for you to do whatever it is your commitment is, then don't do it. You have the right to say no. Right?
Yeah, yes. Saying no is saying yes to yourself.
You bet it is. And oftentimes, Lisa Turkers wrote a book, and I don't have it in here. It's called The Best Yes.
Okay.
And it's one of the best books I know. It's about what's your best yes. Say yes to only the things that are going to give you life. And is it going to be a good yes for you and your family? So decreasing stress is key. And that set your life up that you don't need to escape from it and have self-care. You set your world to create self-care built into your body, into your life. I know what it's like to have 2 kids, be divorced, be in school, be on food stamps, no money, no job. I mean, I get it. So I could be preaching to someone that's like, you don't know my world. No, I don't. But I wish I would have known that I had the right to say no back when those kids were little.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because you make poor decisions when you're so stressed out. Absolutely. You don't sleep. You don't eat well. You don't poop well. You're not going to exercise. Right. So almost more important than any of it is decreased stress.
Right. Yeah. Which it feeds into everything else. And then, of course, this community, which makes us feel as though we belong.
Cultivate community. We are not designed to live in isolation. Social isolation, there's no such thing. It's not possible. We were designed to have community. We thrive in community. We laugh. You share your stories in community. Your cortisol levels go down in community. Yeah. Your inflammation goes down in community. Your immune system is stronger when you have community. When you are lonely, you have a lower immune system and your lifespan is shorter. Yeah. Community is key. I started a weekly cookout in my neighborhood during COVID, and it has been the greatest thing. We have had a ball. We don't meet every week anymore. We did during COVID, but we now know our neighbors. We really know our neighbors. We don't just know our neighbors. There's a difference. FaceTime them. Maybe you're the person. I'm the person in my world who cultivates community. But it's always been very important to me because think about how I grew up. I grew up very isolated, an only child, a mentally ill mother that no one knew this was happening.
Yeah.
And so I thrived on community. In hindsight, the friends that I chose were always strong family friends. They had good, strong family. Mm-hmm. So community is key, cultivating community. It doesn't matter. Create something, start a book club, start something, anything, because people are begging for community right now. And it's also great to have a workout buddy. I mean, that's community, right? If you want to move and want to exercise, you're not going to let your buddy down who's waiting on the corner at 5 a.m. in the cold. You're going to show up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So those are the 6 steps that I work on. Of course, sexual health is important too, but I couldn't figure out how to put it in there, but that's not my 6. It's all important. Well, by the way, the bed is for sleep and sex only. That's it. So,
but you know what?
If you're doing something else get out of the bed, if you're not doing one of those two things. Oh, I'm sorry. The bed is for sleep and sex only. So if you're not doing one or the other in that, get out. So it's not rocket science, and they all work together.
Absolutely. And it certainly is common sense.
It is
medicine.
And so so I wanted this book to be to where anyone from Gilbertsville, Kentucky, small town, Ohio, whatever, to New York City, where you are, could read this book and go, wow, it's got 300 and something medical references in. I mean, it's a true science-based book, yes. But I think we've lost a lot of common sense in medicine. And if we really sit down and take heart in this, it's not. We just need to go back upstream to where we were and when we felt the best in our life. And we just need to take note of all of this and start making baby steps. You can't do all 6 things at once, but you can start making steps, right? To, make better food choices, to go to bed earlier or whatever, to, decrease the stress, start eliminating. And then eventually you look back and you're like, whoa, I'm not where I need to be because I spent 55 years getting myself in this position, but I am much better than I was. And once you start feeling better, you will never go back to where you were. Isn't that right?
That's so true. I had a conversation with a client earlier today about food choices and her mindset about restriction, eating certain foods that she really enjoys, but feels if she takes them, they don't make her feel great, but feeling yes. If she's taking them out of her diet, she's restricting, and that is a trigger for her. And I explained that choosing not to eat what makes you feel unwell is not about restriction. It's about feeling empowered, making empowered choices. And I see that very often with the people that I'm blessed to work with. After we explore who they are as eaters, what their story is, and of course we want to start with diet, nutrition, lifestyle, and healing the gut.
Yes.
It's difficult for many of my clients, and I imagine those listening today, who have the intention, but being told to change their diet is a very uncomfortable scenario because their behavior with food, their relationship to food has served a purpose.
Absolutely. And it makes me nervous if I know for a fact I'm working with a patient that struggles, mm-hmm. Correct? And so, but the way you worded that, I just took about, I've made a mental note of that, about it is about health and it's about healing your body, and eliminating something that is harming you is not about restricting. It's about building up health. That's a great way to look at it, because I struggle with this when I know that I have a disordered mm-hmm. eating patient, and I'm a big believer in food sensitivities, not for restriction, but because I know that their body is going to heal if we eliminate. See, for me, cashews are a high one for me. Cashews are a perfect nut. These are healthy nuts. I'm mad that I can't eat cashews even after 11 years. And what are all and dairy is a problem for me. Dairy, cashews, eggs, gluten. So those are my big ones for me. And then there's beans in there, but I mean, beans are fine, whatever. I don't get torn up about beans. I get torn up about dairy though, because who doesn't like cheese? Yeah. I love cheese. If I eat cheese, my hands swell up like little piggies. They're worse than they already are, little short things. So I know, but I've never thought to look at that. I need to rethink the way I look at it and the way I talk to it about patients. It's not about restricting. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm about restricting patients. I'm about eliminating the foods that are creating the inflammation, that are decreasing their lifespan.
How about we say choosing not to eat, or we say it's a temporary therapeutic protocol for your body
to that one.
Down. Yeah.
It is temporary for most people. Cashews and eggs have stayed on mine forever. Yeah. But yes, for most people, if they can heal the gut, we can bring those foods back in moderation.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. We raise the immune function.
You bet. And when you heal that gut lining and those tight junctions start to heal back. And I use a lot of L-glutamine. Do you use a lot of L? You bet. It's one of the best things that I've ever found to help heal a leaky gut, because your people know this. It's one big tube from the mouth to the anus, and it's one cell wall thick. It doesn't take much to open those tight junctions that hold that gut tight together. And L-glutamine is one of the fastest way to literally, it acts like spackling of the gut. Like I'm spackling that wall back there, back together. Works fast.
Yeah.
It also decreases anxiety, carb and alcohol and sugar cravings. And it's cheap.
Yeah. I also like the herbs, the mucosal herbs, slippery elm, marshmallow root, aloe. I love those that really heal the gut lining.
You bet. And when you cool that inflammation down in that gut lining, you're able to eat a different, you're able to bring things back in, and you just start feeling better. And when you heal the gut, the anxiety, the depression, the ADD, the ADHD, the bipolar, the schizophrenia, the trichotillomania. I mean, all the psych conditions start to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And sometimes we get patients off their anxiety meds or off their ADD meds because 80-ish% of all your serotonin is in the small intestine.
Yes.
So when the gut's inflamed, the brain is inflamed. It's it's common sense when you learn it. And why we aren't taught this in school, I will never know.
Right. Well, speaking of inflammation, you have an Inflammation is the Devil online course.
I do.
So tell our listeners about it and how they can learn about it and hopefully enroll in it.
Absolutely. We marked it down to $29 also from doing this book promotion launch. And it's on my 6 steps, and it goes deeper into cytokines and all the things, inflammatory response, and you can come in and out of it like you want. And it does talk a lot about food elimination in it, and learning your food sensitivities, and it's all about inflammation and healing inflammation, because we know that inflammation is the root of 100% of all chronic lifestyle diseases. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, those things, cardiovascular disease. It's a great little course.
It sounds fantastic. So I'm going to send our viewers, our listeners, to DaniWilliamson.com, DaniWilliamson.com. And I know her website has blogs, videos. Dani has a wonderful weekly health show. I was blessed to be invited on it. And she's just such a source of information. And as you can see, she is full of fire and full of life. And I truly am privileged to call her my friend.
Thank you. I feel the same about you. I'm as passionate about inflammation and healing your body and adverse childhood experiences. I mean, don't let that past define you, period. And you are no longer there, as you are about your entire mission on eating disorders and disordered eating. So I'm honored I'm glad we met several years ago.
Yes, we did.
And we've shared several patients together, and you're the real deal. So I love your mission and what you're doing out there, and you walk the walk. And I believe that as healthcare providers, and all of you all that are listening, if you have a healthcare provider who is not walking the walk or is not listening to you, then you have the right to eliminate that person out of your life. I should have said that. That goes for healthcare providers too.
Right.
We work for you. And if I'm not helping you on your journey of healing, and I'm just simply saying, your labs are normal, you just need to eat better and exercise more, I am telling you, you find a new healthcare provider, and you have the right to do that. People don't realize that they can transfer their records out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everyone deserves to be seen and heard.
You bet.
No question. So Dani, tell our viewers where they can pre-order the book.
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Powell books, Parnassus books. It's everywhere you buy books online. So it was #1 this morning on Amazon on new releases. I don't know if it is currently, but I haven't had a chance to look. Anywhere you want to buy books. The ebook is available right now. Okay. If you got the ebook, like you can download it and then you can also review it if you like it. Well, even if you don't like it, you should review it. But I was looking to see here. No, it's not #1 right now, but it floats. Yeah, anywhere you buy books, it's hardback, paperback, ebook. There will be an Audible, and they're trying to convince me to read it. And I haven't decided yet. I don't know. I almost think I should but I think you should. Listen to this. I lived in New York City, your city, for 3 years. I never lost my accent. Every time I opened my mouth, people would just turn around like, what the heck? Who is that? I don't know if it would be a hindrance or if it would be great to read the book. So it's available everywhere. And I'm so blessed. I'm 56 years old in January, and it took me that long to get this done, but it took me until 44 to find this second career. And I hope you love it, because it really is good, common sense, practical medicine.
You are a gift to the universe. I love you, Dani.
I love you more. Back at you, my friend.
All right. Okay. I hope you come back.
I would love to.
Anyone who missed this, I hope you're finding us on YouTube, Freedom Promise Facebook page, LinkedIn. It's going to be all over. Thank you again so much, and have a wonderful day.
You too.